Coming up on Network Africa. Johannesburg in South Africa comes alive for Christmas with flashy lights and carols. Chad votes in favor of a new constitution backed by the military rulers. Plus, DR Congo's opposition leader Katumbi calls for election annulment amid planned protests. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Olarinde. Merry Christmas to you. We're starting from South Africa, where fancy bright lights have covered parts of Johannesburg in an effort to spread Christmas cheer. While most residents leave the city for holidays, the few who are left are often met with silence from the normally loud, bustling metropolis. In Bryanston neighborhood, residents started a festive initiative decorating an entire street with Christmas lights and hosting street parties where parents and children can enjoy carols and have nighttime picnics while watching the lights. For many, the evening setting added a special touch to the festivities and an ideal venue to reflect in the challenging year. At the Johannesburg Zoo, the annual Festival of Lights continued to captivate audiences. Not only does it illuminate the zoo with festivities, but it also serves as a heartwarming gathering for the community to come together, celebrate life, and create lasting memories in the spirit of Christmas. Meanwhile, South Africa's Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, has encouraged South Africans to celebrate the Christmas day responsibly and for those traveling to adhere to the rules of the road. Mr. Mashatile shared a Christmas message on Sunday, wishing a Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. The South Africa's Minister for Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, also acknowledged the hardship faced by numerous families in the country during this time because of the challenging economic conditions.
The festive season presents us with an opportunity to take a moment to think about those who are less fortunate than ourselves, the sick, vulnerable, and destitute, who are unable to fully enjoy the festive season because of the scourge of social ills. This reality is for us a reminder of how much change is still needed in our society, and we must collectively strive to make our country a better place for all to live in. Compatriots, since Christmas is a time for giving, we must renew our commitment to each other as families and friends. We must remind each other about the values of Ubuntu.
It is a difficult time for many families. It's a difficult time where the economy is not doing very well. Too many people lost their jobs. Those who had jobs, who were looking forward also to celebrate with their families, they are not going to be able to do that because the economy has not done well and we've lost a number of jobs. The message to the people, for me, it's a message of hope. It's a message of wherever you are, whatever you do, whatever your circumstances, life itself is one thing that we always need to celebrate. I celebrate life every day of my life. When I wake up, and because I was brought up in the Catholic Church, I have to pray in the morning and thank God for life itself, thank God for courage, strength, and wisdom. And I'm saying to everyone out there, the government of South Africa is very much aware of the challenges, of the pain that many will be facing because they will not be able to be as excited as those who can. But all I can say to them, as a Minister of Social Development, please don't give up. Never give up in life. Give it the best that you can. One day things are going to be fine. But as government, we are also here to try and create a conducive environment for our people. And our focus is much going to be, how do we grow the economy in such a way that people can be independent, that they can get the jobs, that they can also create jobs, because it's not only about just getting jobs, about people creating jobs. And to the informal business, the men and women who go out there to sell something because they want to bring something home, we are wishing them the best, and may they enjoy this little period of rest for those who are going to be able to rest.
And from the south to the north in Egypt, the country has played something of a middleman between Israel and Gaza as a conduit for aid to the embattled Strip. Well, this has come with its problems, with some Egyptians bearing sometimes the brunt of fighting between both parties. Well, let's check in now with VOA's correspondent Edward Yeranian, who is in Cairo, joining us now. Hello, Edward. Merry Christmas to you. Talk to us about, the atmosphere, what it's like in Egypt this day, December 25th.
Merry Christmas, Io. Well, many Egyptians are Copts, and they actually celebrate on January 7th. But that being said, if you walk the streets of Cairo, you'll see Christmas decorations, Christmas trees, Christmas lights. The stores are decked out with Christmas decorations. The hotels have Christmas trees or Christmas tree lights on them. So if you were a foreigner and came to Cairo, you would think today was Christmas, even though many Copts are not celebrating today. The mood in general is a bit sad. I think a lot of people are not happy about the war going on. The economy was already not doing very well as well. So the mood is not joyous, but at the same time, people have been, there are shows of generosity. You see people or businesses that are giving things away for people who are poor. You see families giving food to the poor that when they don't have it. So it's a mixed bag, but at the same time, I wouldn't say people are overly depressed. Egyptians generally are in good moods. They're cheerful and they joke a lot, even though the situation could be bad.
Yeah, speaking about the war, we know there's been talks, perhaps you clear that up for us, of Egypt planning to start a ceasefire parley again between Israel and Hamas.
Well, the Egyptian diplomacy or actually the intelligence chief has been conducting negotiations with Hamas and with the Islamic Jihad and probably several other Palestinian factions in Gaza. And the latest headline on the Saudi-owned Al Arabiya TV, which is one of the most watched Arab news channels, was that they had not come up with an agreement and that Hamas and Islamic Jihad have refused the Egyptian proposal, which involved handing over power in Gaza and allowing elections. But at the same time, you never know what's actually going to happen. That was just what the headlines were saying. So it's possible that people are saying one thing and their intentions are totally different.
All right, then we'll have to wait and see. And on a lighter note, how will you be celebrating, or how are you celebrating? That's if you are.
Well, I mean, we had our Christmas celebration at the church I go to. I played the organ. I play a lot of Christmas music. I enjoyed this Christmas music that I was playing and which my colleagues were playing. So I guess music is a great part of Christmas to me.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Edward Yeranian, VOA's correspondent in Cairo, and a Merry Christmas once again.
Merry Christmas, Laya.
Well, back here in Nigeria, the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, is urging Nigerians to persevere. He said the tough times will be behind the nation in no time. The governor wants Lagos residents to be hopeful in the face of the global economic crisis. He says the challenges are not peculiar to the country. Mr. Sanwo-Olu gave this admonition at the Cathedral Church of Christ Marina, where he joined other congregants for the Christmas service earlier today.
We're at a time as a people that things are indeed at various levels of challenges, and we probably just have no better time but now to thank God Almighty. Our case is like a case of a patient who had been diagnosed with an ailment, who has also received some medication, but is now in the process of recovery. And during that recovery process, there will still be the pain that will be felt. The country has indeed gone through a lot. The world has indeed gone through a lot. And so it's not peculiar to us alone. And so we are at the recovery stage that it will appear as if we still have a bit of pain here and there. But I can assure us that indeed, with all the medications that we have taken, with all the policies of the current federal government, renewed hope that indeed there is light down the tunnel. And so my message to all Lagosians is to remain hopeful, is to know that indeed what we're going through is not peculiar to us, and better times are ahead of us. In Lagos, we're thankful to God. We're thankful for what God has done for us. We continue to remain the commercial economic nerve center of our country. We'll continue to attract investment at the highest level into the country. We'll continue to be a beacon of social economic transformation in our country. We'll continue to remain the most peaceful part of our country. And we're grateful that God has bestowed on Lagos this very, very, very honest task.
Well, moving away briefly from the Christmas stories, we go to politics in Chad. Residents have voted in favor of a new constitution that critics say could help consolidate the power of military leader Mohamed Idris Deby. According to the organizers, the referendum held earlier this month was approved by 86% of voters, with voter turnout at 64%. Chad's military authorities have called the vote a vital stepping stone to elections next year. This comes after a long-promised return to democratic rule. The military seized power back in 2021 when former President Idris Deby was killed on the battlefield during a conflict with rebels. The new constitution will maintain a unitary state, which Chad has had since independence, while establishing autonomous communities with local assemblies and councils of traditional chiefdoms, among other changes. But, however, some of its opponents have been calling for the creation of a federal state, saying it would help spur development in the oil-producing sector. And over in the DRC, the presidential election is facing a crisis of legitimacy amid opposition calls for the vote to be annulled due to alleged fraud. 5 opposition candidates, including former provincial governor Moise Katumbi, say the vote should not stand, as according to them, it has been tainted by massive fraud. Well, 5 other opposition leaders, including Nobel Peace Prize laureate Denis Mukwege and former oil executive Martin Fayulu, have called for a protest march against the result on Wednesday. About 44 million people in the mineral-rich Central African nation were registered to vote in the country. National and the country's election. They were to vote in the national and regional elections. President Felix Tshisekedi, who had a sizable lead in preliminary diaspora results, is running for election against 18 opposition candidates. Well, results are expected on December 31st. Welcome back to the program. We continue in Senegal, where the Navy has seized 690 kilograms of cocaine being transported to Europe in an ultra-fast go-fast boat and arrested 5 Spaniards on board. The Senegalese army announced this in a statement on Sunday. The deep-sea patrol boat intercepted the vessel on Friday, 220 kilometers off the coast of Senegal. The patrol boat had to use verbal warnings and later warning shots to stop the vessel, which had released its cargo before the intervention. On November 28th and December 16th, the Senegalese army had announced seizures at sea of almost 3 tons of cocaine on each occasion. Let's go to some news about the war in Gaza. More than 10,000 demonstrators marched in Rabat in solidarity with Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, denouncing what they call a war of extermination and the normalization of relations between Morocco and Israel. Called by a motley crew of supporters of the Palestinian cause, including left-wing groups and militants from the Islamist Justice and Charity Movement, the demonstrators marched along Avenue Mohammed V, the beating heart of the capital, under the slogan, "Stop the war of extermination in Gaza, stop normalization." Free Palestine and Save Gaza were also proclaimed on placards. Many of the protesters held up banners denouncing the destruction of hospitals and the colonization of the Palestinian territories. Chanting slogans saluting the resistance of the Palestinian people, demonstrators notably criticized U.S. support for Israel in its war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The World Health Organization and partners have visited and delivered supplies to the Al-Shifa hospital and visited 3 other hospitals in Gaza in multiple convoys. According to the WHO, Al-Shifa was once Gaza's biggest hospital, but relentless hostilities and massive numbers of wounded people have brought its capacity to its knees. WHO Emergency Medical Team Coordinator Sean Casey, visiting for the 3rd time in the week, says it's still a case of absolute misery with people still on the floors. 19,200 liters of generator fuel were delivered on Saturday, but the WHO says there's more that's needed. Moreover, according to the UN Health Agency, the hospital's oxygen plant was destroyed during hostilities. Al-Shifa is producing refuge to 50,000 displaced people.
I'm back in Al-Shifa, the largest hospital in Gaza, for the 3rd time this week, where it's still a case of absolute misery. With people still on the floors, it's almost impossible to walk. Critical cases, doctors and nurses absolutely scrambling, people crying out that they need blood for their son and daughter who are dying. There's almost nothing that this team can do, this very small clinical team can do to help all of these people. It's absolute chaos still. And actually, this is even after the hospital staff told us that the fighting has quieted down for the last few days. It's non-stop, 24 hours a day, serious and critical injuries coming in, and a very small staff to help them. Today we provided fuel to the hospital so they'll be able to power the lights and the machines to allow surgeries to happen. It's a multi-pronged problem. It's a very challenging situation, but we're trying to tackle the different elements of this at the same time to allow small elements of the hospital to come back online. There's the risk of a famine here in Gaza, actually, and even here in the hospital, everybody says that they only have rice. They have very often only 1 meal a day, and they're hungry. So, you know, we've brought medical supplies here, we've brought surgical supplies here. Everybody wants food, and we're currently in the kitchen trying to find a way that we can reactivate this kitchen.
Well, we'll move on to our Christmas stories. Dazzling decorations light up Nairobi as Kenyans are celebrating the Christmas season. Well, for many, 2023 has been a tough year, and some residents in Nairobi say they're just trying to make ends meet at a time when they would normally travel outside the city and spend time with friends and family. This year, the government imposed strict new tax laws, increasing the cost of living and causing citizens to feel the pinch deep in their pockets. Adverse weather conditions also struck the country late November with the El Nino flooding that killed about 120 people and forced almost 90,000 households to leave their homes. But however, many Kenyans are still determined to share the joy and warmth of the festive season. Well, one of those who are determined to continue to share the joy and warmth of Christmas is Kenyan journalist Cyrus Wombati, who joins us now. Hello, Cyrus. Am I correct if I say, you are ready to and determined to share the joy of the festive season, even with what Kenya has been through?
Well, you are right to say that, because I was working at the same time also trying to check how Kenyans are celebrating their Christmas. So you're right to say that I'm sharing how the people are sharing the joy across the country.
Despite all that the citizens have been through, we see Kenyans still, hanging decorations this year. But tell us, how is the average Kenyan celebrating at this time?
Well, I've gone. Thank you for me for the show. I've gone through around five major cities, and I'm somewhere in Naivasha, which is almost 100 kilometers from Nairobi. And I can tell you that most Kenyans didn't travel up country, as it has been their tradition, because because of the hardship or kind of hard economic times. But then those who could afford, they have traveled out of the cities to their home countries for celebration with the family. But then when you walk around the cities, you will see people congregating in kind of parks to celebrate in one way or the other. So every Kenyan is trying to meet or rather to celebrate the day the way they can, despite the hardship areas that we have in the country.
Well, you said you have traveled across 5 counties. You seem to be moving about quite a bit, but how are you celebrating?
Personally, I sent my family away out of town, out of the city to the up country. So I decided to go around to check how people are doing. I was in Mombasa, I came back to Nairobi, I came to Nakuru, I went to Eldoret, and I'm in Naivasha. So you can see people are struggling to be there. But personally, I can say I'm a bit well off with my own ways. So I'm celebrating in my own way. So I'm happy. I went around. I saw people. So many people are in many parks today. Those who are able to do it the same. But then even hotels are kind of fully booked in most areas. So the economy is maybe it can be booming from now until the end of the year. Then we'll see what will happen the coming year.
Well, speaking about the economic situation in the country, can you make a comparison to last year, the festivities of how it was last year to this year?
Well, you see, this country, the problem is the government has introduced new taxes which made life more harder or difficult to say. So you can't compare last year now because say, for example, the cost of fuel was a bit cheaper last year as compared to now. So many people cannot afford to travel out of where they are. So that shows you that the cost of living has gone high because of this fuel, which they added more taxes than as compared last year. So celebrations are not there today as compared. You can't compare the two. They are different in so many ways. So that's why I'm saying many people didn't travel up country as it was anticipated.
And is the government, giving any hope that it will be better next year?
Well, they are not giving any hope. They are saying tighten your belt. They are saying things are going to be difficult before they become better. So it means the whole of next year things will be more tighter. Since schools are open in January, then these taxes which are coming in, new taxes are coming in January, in the next 1 week. So I can't say there's hope to say the little, but people are hoping for the best. But times are tough here. I can tell you, that's the little I can say.
All right then, but in the midst of it all, we still celebrate. Thank you so much, Sarah Sombati, Kenyan journalist, and have a splendid holiday.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas too.
And that's where we end Network Africa for today. Merry Christmas to you. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.